students come at your place. And
Right.
so, and I asked you before, I was like, do you feel lonely? And you're like, nope. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of lonely, I was doing a little research on you. And so this is kind of opposite of what you just said. You're happy to be alone, but you started your podcast out of loneliness, at least in part. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Well, prior to moving out to the East Coast, I've lived here for about 3 years now. I lived in San Diego, California for 20 years, and we moved out here formally for work. And initially, we were in Richmond, Virginia.
Hmm.
And then 7 months later, we came out to Virginia Beach, pretty much have lived here for about 2 years now. But by the time we moved here, I was just starving for a social life. Like I said, we moved out to Richmond at first for work. And so it almost felt like, and I think it almost felt like a deployment, like it felt like we weren't going there to start a new life together. It was for work. And so when we came out here to Virginia Beach, this was actually a family decision. I knew that I wanted to start growing roots from the bottom up. Like since we decided that it's not just for work to be out here, we were gonna, try to start a life of some sort. And so, but it was hard. It was hard to build local connections. And my background being a military child for the first 10 years sort of convinced me that it was just going to be really difficult for me to make friends locally or physically. And so I needed to find a way to build a network and a community that I could take with me wherever I go. And that's how podcasting came into existence. It
Now
was
you've been here
really
how
by,
long? How long have you been here?
so how long have I been in Virginia
Yeah,
Beach?
Virginia Beach.
Yeah, for about 2 years now.
Okay.
This year will be our second year.
Okay, so
And
hold on. So
yeah,
you've been here 2 years. I've
yeah.
been here 20,
Uh-huh.
and we met in person one time. I mean, how much more social life do you want? I mean,
Yes, Tom. Sorry, Tom, you weren't enough.
oh man, I thought I was enough to go around for a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's difficult because, and that's the thing. You mentioned you lived here for a long time. I was running into a lot of people who've lived here for a long time as well. So to just kind of try to integrate myself in those circles is really difficult for me. And then, of course, when the pandemic hit, it made it even more difficult. I remember at the beginning of 2020, I did start to go to networking events and, meetups and trying to make friends that way. But like I said, the pandemic hit, everyone started meeting online, and it kind of just reinforced why I started podcasting. And I'm so glad that I had summer of 2019 to start, because I think it gave me like the practice,
Hmm. Right.
to get into podcasting, so that when 2020 came, I was already at it. I was already kind of in my zone to do it and to have conversations virtually.
See, I would have thought this area would have been extremely easy because of all the transient, the military, like, I do stuff for military spouses and stuff, and they're here for 2 years and gone. So aren't they all in the same boat where they're really trying to find some local friends, or else they avoid that because then they have to leave them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a hit or miss. Sometimes people in the military, they know they're going to be here temporarily, so they kind of stick to their own. They'll stick to their
Hmm.
family. They'll kind of do stick to the long distant calls to stay in touch with family. Or some will dive in deep and just straight up make friends. Right? They'll just be
Hmm.
like, I'm going to make friends. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I'm going to get into it. And so I think for me, it was like trying to find that balance. But really, when I started getting to podcasting, I thought, oh well, this is easier for me. This is more convenient,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and so I kind of just stuck with it. It became my number one way of socializing.
Well, tell us about U.S. Vet Wealth. What exactly does it do?
Yeah. So US Vet Wealth, the way that I like to describe our company nowadays is we like to provide thought-provoking financial education and flexible financial solutions to our career military families. And what I mean by that is, when you think about traditional financial planning, it's usually tailored towards civilians with the assumption that, you're going to go through corporate America and you're going to climb up the ladder. And the whole idea is to work until you're in your 60s, and then you can pull money out of your, insurance and out of your retirement planning. And the thing is, though, with the military, especially career military families, when they transition out, they're not going from one corporate job to another. They're going from, being trained or prepared or preparing themselves for war to back to regular life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the financial planning is a lot different for them. It's not just about the money, it's the mindset. And so what we like to do is be able to support them in a way where they can, adapt to post-military life and have money be one of the last stressors for them to think about in that new life of theirs as civilians.
Now, the name